olives here, and these have pimentos in the center. If you wanted to use just plain green olives, you could certainly do that. They're a little bit easier to find pitted as opposed to the calamatas, so whatever you want to use is absolutely fine. We'll just get about the same amount of calamatas that we had, maybe about a half cup or so. Now we're just going to do the same thing, roughly chop these. And don't worry, they don't have to be perfect. You can always go back and just run your knife through them again. Alright, so we've got our green olives chopped roughly. And go ahead and get those into the bowl as well. And you can use your knife to help you scoop stuff off the cutting board, no problem. Next we're going to add some roasted red peppers. And they come in a can, you don't even have to roast them yourself. It's the beauty of the grocery store. You just take about a fourth or a half a cup, depending on how much you like them. You just take those right there. And we're going to do the same thing. Just cut these up roughly. These are a lot easier to get through. You can just kind of stack them up and run your knife through them. This way first and then that way. We'll get these into the bowl as well. Now don't freak out, but we're going to add an ingredient here that you may not like. I personally love them. If you don't like anchovies, feel free to omit these, but you should try them. See if you like them. Now these anchovies that we've got are just regular anchovies. They come in a can, they're packed in oil, and we're just going to remove them from the can, set them on our board here, and they are very salty, and they're not quite as fishy as you would imagine. Yes, they are a fish, but don't be scared, you should just try them out. Alright, anchovies into the bowl. Now next, we're going to add just a little bit of balsamic vinegar. We just need about a teaspoon of balsamic vinegar, just a little splash. Nothing much. It has a very, very powerful flavor behind it, and it'll stand up nicely behind the olives and all the other nice salty things that we have going in there. We're also going to add maybe about a tablespoon of olive oil, just a pinch of salt, and as much or as little freshly cracked black pepper as you'd like. You could also throw some roasted or crushed red pepper flakes in here if you'd like. If you want to spice it up a little bit, it's all up to you. So we'll just give it a good mix. And this is all set. You can serve this with bread or on crackers, like I said. You can even top off a pasta with it. But I like to let it sit for just a little bit before I serve it, and then all the flavors kind of incorporate. So our tapenade is all done. We're just going to set this aside. Alright, let's get back working on our veal. So we've got a deep skillet here that we're going to be working in. And you want to make sure that there's enough room in the skillet to fit everything in there. So we're going to use about a tablespoon of butter. And just a splash of olive oil. Maybe about a tablespoon or half a teaspoon, whatever you'd like. The prosciutto, it's kind of like bacon, you know, it's going to render off and it's going to create its own grease, so it'll be able to cook in that. See how it's just kind of foamy? That's perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for here. So, these are fairly fragile the way that we put them together, so we're just kind of going to pick them up and do it by hand. Tongs really won't work for you at this point. We're just going to lay these in here. Go ahead and taste our risotto and see if it's where we want it to be. I like mine a little bit al dente with a bite, kind of like pasta. So we'll just take a couple of kernels here. It's actually pretty good. I think we should put one more ladle of chicken stock in there and let it soften up just a little bit more. And in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and shred our Asiago cheese that's going to go in there. So we just need one more ladle of the chicken stock. And we will go ahead and turn that off. I'm using Asiago cheese today, and you could really use whatever cheese that you like. You could use a Parmesan or a Parmigiano Reggiano, even a Romano. But this just has kind of a nice salty, buttery, nutty flavor, and I think that it'll pair up really well with the veal, which is coming along quite nicely here in the pan. So let's just cut off some of this Asiago so it's easier to work with. And we're going to need anywhere from 3/4 of a cup to a cup, depending on how cheesy you want your risotto. We're not going to add this in until after the risotto is done cooking, because it'll just melt itself in there. You don't want to burn the cheese. Alright, we've got a nice pile of Asiago cheese here, which we're going to melt into our risotto a little bit closer to when the veal gets done. Now, one thing that I didn't mention to you at the tapenade is we're going to go ahead and add in some flat leaf parsley. And you want to let your tapenade kind of sit and incorporate and let all those juices kind of combine into the olives before you add your parsley. That way it doesn't get soggy. So let's just take a handful of parsley here. About a 1/4 cup. And if you just kind of get it up into a nice ball, you can kind of control it better when you're chopping it. So again, just keep your blade on the tip of the blade on the cutting board and pick up from your shoulder. And you're just going to run your knife through like this. And what I like to do anytime I chop up some fresh parsley, I kind of just reserve a little bit off to the side to garnish our plates with. So we'll go ahead and get this into our tapenade. And give it one last stir. Look at all those beautiful colors. Who wouldn't want to eat that? I would just eat this with a spoon. You could stick the crusty bread all together. Alright, why don't we flip our veal, get our risotto off the stove so we can incorporate the cheese, and then we're ready to eat. Check out the prosciutto here. See how it's kind of cooked together and it's kind of formed a little envelope around the veal? That's exactly what you're looking for. And you know, if you didn't want to do this in a pan, you could certainly put it in the oven for maybe about 20 or 25 minutes at about 350 degrees. Let's move on to the risotto, get our cheese in there, and I think we'll be ready to eat in just a few minutes. Just going to give it one final stir, and I have gone ahead and shut the heat off. And we're just going to add in this massive mountain of Asiago cheese. I like my risotto really, really cheesy. And the heat of the rice will go ahead and melt well into this cheese. Or melt the cheese well into the rice. Excuse me. Just takes a couple of minutes for it to incorporate. Now, another reason that I like using a white cheese, like a Parmesan or an Asiago, is because it matches the color of the risotto. So it doesn't have that kind of unnatural look, like if you were to add a yellow or an orange cheese in there, like American or cheddar, it would just look less Italian. Doesn't that look good? So this is all set and ready. Our veal is ready too, so why don't we plate up and have a bite. For this elegant Italian dish, we're going to go ahead and plate it family style. This is the way you're going to see a lot of Italian meals presented to you. Just pile everything up on one big plate and everybody helps themselves from there. A big pile of this cheesy risotto in the center of a platter. And we're going to go ahead and put our veal saltimbocca right here around the rice. This will feed you and 3 of your hungriest friends. And before we take it to the table, we're going to go ahead and garnish it with a little bit more parsley. And you're ready to go. Now that I've shown you how to make the Asiago risotto, the veal saltimbocca, and my rustic version of tapenade, why don't we get right down to checking it out. You can pile up your tapenade on some entertainer crackers like this. This makes an awesome, quick, easy appetizer for any party, and you can make this 4 seasons because you can get all the olives and the red peppers canned in your grocery store. And if you want, you can garnish these with a little bit of cheese. Just grate it right on top. I'm Danielle Gilbert. Thank you so much for joining me here today on ecountrylifestyle.com to learn how to make my veal saltimbocca, cheesy Asiago risotto, and our rustic Italian tapenade. Thanks for watching. Have a delicious day. We'll see you next time.